All right. So, welcome everyone. Today, we're going to jump into an overview session with our newest partners, Sold.com, in regards to how to generate additional listing leads and seller opportunities. We're going to have Brett from Sold.com take it away and jump straight into it and get you guys acquainted with the system.
Awesome. Thank you, Adrian. It's good to be here. So my name is Brett Calthorpe, and I'm VP of. Are you able to hear me okay, Adrian?
Yes, sorry, I muted you and I meant to mute myself, so I apologize about
No worries. So I was going to say, usually it takes a little bit longer before I get the gong. So anyway, nice to chat with all of you today. My name is Brett Calthorpe. I'm VP of Broker Partnerships here at Sold.com. A little bit about me. I got started in real estate down the road from you in Florida about 21 years ago, running a real estate group down there, and then a large group up in Vancouver, British Columbia. About 10 years ago, I switched over to the corporate side of things. And worked at Anywhere, who's the parent company of Global Bankers, C21, et cetera, as their director of consulting. Spent a little time at Zillow as their director of industry, and then came over to Sold.com to kind of create this program. So, all that said, I'm a huge fan of Realty One. I was telling Adrian, I'm friends with Corey Joe, and I've known a lot of those folks over there. Kathy Baker is one of my favorite people, good friend and mentor. So always excited to chat with Realty One company, and you guys certainly have a fantastic one. It's been a delight to work with Adrian so far. So, my goal today is really kind of help you understand Sold.com. Who are we and how to best work with our program so you have the most success possible. So, I'm going to be talking about how Sold.com works, these best practices to follow to kind of help you get the most conversion from these referrals. And as I walk you through, I'm a really transparent person. So I'm going to be super honest about what you should do and what you shouldn't do to have success. Because I want to make sure, number one, that you fully understand the program, the ins and outs, and I want to make sure it's a good fit for you and that you're really excited to work it. So, if you do have any questions, I know a lot of you will be watching this on recording. I'll be sharing my email in the chat, and then I'm sure Adrian's happy to share it with you if you have questions. If you are on the webinar live, go ahead and use that chat button. So if you have questions, I'll be stopping along the way. I do try to be really thorough. There's a lot of information to cover, and I'll most likely kind of answer the questions I go through, but I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. This is what we're going to talk about today. Number one, who is Sold.com? Some of you may be familiar with us. A lot of you may be coming in a little bit fresh. We're going to talk about lead types and your expectations and what we show historically you can expect. We're going to talk about the agent experience. How do I work with Sold.com? What's my process like? How can I increase lead volume? We're going to talk about your agent dashboard and portal, and then we're going to just recap some key takeaways and next steps. So, first off, who is Sold.com? We've been around since 2018, and to the general public, we are a consumer education website. So consumers come to our website to find out all sorts of information about home ownership. And you can see a screenshot on the right. We talk to companies like home improvement. We have information. We have insurance information, solar. And then we have two major lines of partnerships. We work with mortgage lenders around the country, and we work with real estate agents around the country. Now, first, right off the bat, the cool thing is that you're able to create an account and work with us, and there's no upfront costs to receive a referral. It's completely free to create your profile and to join our referral network and be eligible to receive these leads. And what's another cool thing about us, we are 100% focused on seller leads. We do not spend a dime trying to generate buyer leads. If you ever receive a buyer lead from us, 9 times out of 10, it's a seller that also wants to buy, right? So we're what's known as a success fee company. So instead of paying us up front to create your profile, instead there's a 35% success fee that's paid as a successful closing. And I'll talk more about the ins and outs of that. So as I mentioned, our 100% of our focus are sellers, and we, with all of our advertising and everything that we're putting out into the internet to try to entice people to interact with us, we're constantly targeting people who are potentially looking to sell their home. Now, a couple things that I think are really important for you to know. Number one, we generate all these leads ourselves, and our goal is then to get them in front of agents like you to help you to keep growing your business by building and nurturing this pipeline. But also, we want to make sure we're connecting with agents that are actually going to reach out to these folks and answer the consumers' questions. There's different ways that consumers come into our ecosystem. Some actually do come through sold.com, but as you can imagine, we don't have the kind of traffic that your larger portals would have. So the majority of our leads come from paid advertisements that we run. So a question that I get asked quite a bit, kind of at this point, usually is how do you generate the leads? Who are these people? What are they interacting with? So I pulled a couple of screenshots so you can see the types of ads that we run. So you can see two examples here. The ad on the left is probably our most common call to action type, and it's probably one that you're using in your business already. Click here for a free home evaluation. Obviously, my previous employer at Zillow, that's how they built their empire, is come here to find out your Zestimate, right? Dirty word in real estate, I know, but I had to mention it. But that is, a very common call to action. Click here to find out what your home is worth. The ad on the right, get a cash offer on your home. This has obviously been more something we've all had to deal with over the last few years as these initiatives have come to play. Believe it or not, that those cash offer ads, those are actually our highest converting ads. And I'll talk about that. But with the ads that we run, we generate about 150,000 leads per month across our network, which is fantastic. And as I mentioned, we do our advertising primarily through things like Google, Meta landing pages, different Instagram, different social media sites. We also do some limited radio and TV ads, mailers, all these different things. Now, something that's often overlooked when you sign up for leads, and I'm sure some of you, if not all of you, have interacted with other lead programs before, but I always like to make sure to call this part out because there's a lot of information and you're humans and you're going to naturally kind of tune in and out while I talk. I try to keep it interesting, but I'm a realist, right? This is super important to pay attention to. Most people, as I said, don't come to sold.com. They see a Google ad on a website, or they're scrolling through Facebook and they see an ad and they click on it and interact with it. So because of that, they might not know that it's sold.com, right? So because of that, we always suggest, first tip, don't begin the outreach with, "Hi, I received your information from sold.com." That's a big misstep because they're going to think, "Well, wait, I've never been to sold.com." Now you can see the ad on the left has our logo at the top. Well, you see that because you see the sold.com logo all over my screen and you know you're listening to the sold.com guy. If I'm a consumer, I see in big letters, home valuation button, take our quiz, right? So they might not have even known that it was sold.com. The ad on the right, you can see it doesn't even have our information on it, right? So I always like to call that out, reach out and say, "Hey, this is Adrian. I received your information. I understand you have some questions about home evaluation. When was the last time you talked to an agent about the value of your home?" Or, "Hey, I pulled it up and it looks like it's up about $300,000 in value since you purchased it a few years back," right? I always like to call that out first. The other largest misstep I see is that agents are too focused on just trying to list that property immediately versus looking at these as what they are, which is an introduction. It's a way to meet sellers that you wouldn't have otherwise met so that you can provide value. And I'm not saying this to scare you off, but right, because hey, remember, the good thing about seller leads is they're active until they actually sell the property. But the most common ad we run, find out what your home might be worth. For most of these folks, they're just more so at that top of funnel in their real estate journey. And what I mean by that is they're starting to look into see, what would their house may be worth and trying to decide if selling their home is something they should explore doing. And if they do decide to sell, what types of things should I do to get it ready for sale? Right? They're not saying I want to list my property today. They're saying I'd like to talk to an agent to find out what the value of my home is, what's happening in my real estate market, how the selling process might work. Maybe I haven't sold a house in 10 years. Things are different, right? So keep that in mind as you reach out to folks. Now, as I mentioned, that cash offer ad, again, this sometimes scares off agents because they don't actually handle cash offers. But the good news is this is actually our highest converting lead type. And it's not because typically you're actually providing a cash offer, but it's because these consumers are interested in knowing their selling options and they have a higher intent to sell and are actively looking for offers, which is why they tend to convert more quickly. Now, those of you who've worked cash offers, you know that typically these companies are going to offer what? About 70 to 80% of market value. Now, if you don't have a partner that you work with, we do have a marketplace partner with OfferPad that will pay you a full 3% commission if you bring them a property and they decide to buy it. Then they're going to rehab it, they're going to relist it with you, and they give you an additional commission. But most of the time, the folks, what do they end up doing? They end up listing it. And a great question to ask, and I think it's in some of our scripts, what's the most important aspect of you selling? Do you want to sell it as quick as possible, or do you want to get the highest and best offer for your home? Because I want to make sure you have that knowledge so that you know all your options and to make sure you're not leaving money on the table, right? So as you guys can see, essentially, when you are handling these lead types, you're basically kind of picking up where we left off with our call to action, right? So then you're going to jump in to meet these folks, build a relationship, educate them on what you can do for them, and how much money you can help them to get for their home if they want to list it. But if you show up at the door and knock and say, "Hey, sold.com told me you're ready to list. Where should I put my sign?" Those dots aren't going to line up, right? Because you can see again that doesn't match the ads. And for every lead you receive from us, it shows in what we call a lead intent. So you're going to know, did they click on, I want to know the value of my home, or I want to know this or that, right? So that is, I always like to call that out just because we want to make sure that when you do reach out, you're in line with what they're expecting to hear. So let me talk about kind of how everything works as far as the leads. So as I mentioned, these are top of funnel seller leads. So when we look at the overall real estate market, okay, that top stat, that 10% go to market in 12 months, that's actually a real estate wide stat. So typically people who use those home valuation requests, it's usually about an 18 to 36 month cycle before they're ready to list. And about 10% of those folks go to market in 12 months. Now, our leads, our overall leads is 17% list within 12 months. So we're quite a bit higher than the average for those types of ads. Now, cash offer requests, which typically are going to be our appointment opportunities, and I'll talk about the difference, 22% of those folks list within 12 months, and it's a much shorter cycle. 6 to 18 months, right? So again, it's like, I'm sure you guys have learned this over the years, the fortune is in the follow-up. Maybe they're looking at the value today because their child's graduating from high school next year and they're thinking about downsizing. Or, hey, maybe I just found out, my wife's having a baby and we need a bigger place, right? So, but I always like to set these correct expectations because let's face it, guys, we live in an instant gratification world. When I was at Zillow, they always said that what consumers want is push button, make magic happen, right? And there's a lot of companies out there, they're going to advertise that everybody's ready to transact today and it's all sunshine and rainbows. And that's a big red flag, right? This is an introduction to someone who's alluding to the fact that they're thinking about selling their home. They have real estate questions. And then that's where you come in to create and grow your pipeline by consistently providing that value. And that's what's going to generate your success, not with just listings. But how many referrals are you going to get from that person over that 18 to 36 months where you're providing value and they're at a dinner party and talking to their friend and saying, their friend says, "Yeah, I'm thinking about buying a house. Oh, you should talk to Adrian. He's been sending me great real estate information, and we're not quite sure what we're going to do, but I'm telling you what, if we're going to list, we're going to list with him." Right? So your approach matters. The last thing I'll say about this, because I thought it was kind of funny, is I was doing one of these webinars about a few weeks back, and I had an agent say, "Oh, it's like a bad date." What do you think of? What do you mean bad date? Well, imagine you sit down on a first date and you sit across from that person, and within 2 minutes they're talking about weddings and how many kids you're going to have and that kind of stuff. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Stage 5 clinger, like that's a big red flag, right? But that's what some agents do when meeting leads. And I know it's cheesy, but I thought it was funny, right? All they want is a date with you, right? All they want is that home evaluation, or they want to learn about buying a house. So is every lead gold? No, it's the general public. But you can find the groove and the patients provide value, you're going to be successful. And you're going to build a predictive pipeline that's going to pop for you at the right time, right? It's a compounding effect. So what is the agent experience like? How does the lead process work? As I mentioned, we predominantly generate leads through ads. So we get these inbounds, they come to us at sold.com, and then the first thing we're going to do, which isn't on the slide, is we put them through a verification process. So we're going to verify, is it a real phone number? Is it a real email address? Do they actually own the property that they say they own? We're going to check the MLS and make sure it's not listed. So we actually reject about 20 to 25% of the inbounds we receive because they don't pass that test. So we're not the company that's going to send you Mickey Mouse at 123 Main Street, right? So all of the leads that come in that we're able to verify the information, then go to our concierge team. And those folks are going to reach out to that consumer for 24 hours to try to get them on the phone, just to reiterate what kind of information they're looking for, what their timeline might be, etc. But they've been trained to walk that consumer down the path to hopefully saying, I would like to have an appointment to speak to an agent at a certain date and time. Now, this is not a listing appointment. It is an appointment to talk to an agent about real estate, and so you can answer their questions. So if we're successful in that, we'll say the concierge, the consumer says, yeah, I'd like to meet with an agent Tuesday at 2 o'clock. We go, great, we'll connect you with one of our agents. We'll be back in touch. So then we send a text message out to the top ranked agent in that zip code where the lead came from and say, hey, we've got a consumer in 01234 that wants to meet Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Do you want that appointment? First agent gets 20 minutes. If they drop the ball, we send a text to the second agent. If they don't reply, it goes to the third agent. The first agent to reply to that text and claim that appointment gets the information. So then we send a confirmation to the agent with all the consumer info. We send a confirmation to the consumer with all the agent's info. And we even send some reminder texts to the consumer to say, hey, don't forget, you're meeting with John Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Now, that is what happens if we have an appointment. Now, the good thing is on these appointment leads, they are highest converting. So that's the 22% that list within 12 months. However, what happens if we can't get a hold of them? Or they're saying, yeah, I would like information, but I'm super busy. I don't know exactly when I'll have time to sit down and chat to somebody. Those come through as what we call a referred customer lead, and that's an emailed lead. And that you don't have to claim. It just shows up in your email box so that as soon as you get it, you can reach out to them and start trying to build that relationship. So, talking about your lead volume, for most agents, about 90% of the leads you'll receive will be those referred customer leads. So, they just show up in your email and you don't have to do anything as far as claiming them. You just want to reach out, obviously, as soon as you can. And they show up in your agent portal. The appointment opportunity leads, those are usually about 10% of your leads. They do have to be claimed. So, those are the two different kinds of leads that you'll receive from us. And I always like to mention that because when we talk about our success fee, we do have an optional program that you can use to boost your lead volume, and you actually get a discount on those success fees depending on what kind of lead type it is. So remember, appointment leads, those are our highest converting leads, but it's about 10% of the leads. The referred customer leads, emailed, you don't have to claim. The last thing I'll say about those appointment leads is when you get out of a home inspection or you walk out of a listing appointment and you look at your phone and go, oh, shoot, I got a text message from Sold about 30 minutes ago. Always try to claim the lead. Worst case scenario, it'll say, sorry, that lead's already been claimed. But you'll be amazed how many times you're still the first agent to claim that, because some agents just aren't awesome at looking at their phone, or they're busy, or they're driving, or they're showing people around, or who knows why. But whenever you see a text from sold.com, I highly, highly, highly suggest that you always try to claim the lead. Even if the time's not great for you, because remember, these aren't showing appointments. These are times that the consumer's probably just pulling out of their head. So you can say, hey, yeah, I got your message. I'd love to meet with you on Tuesday. I'm already booked at 2 o'clock. Would 3 okay? Would 3 work for you? Or I have time at noon. 99% of the time, they're going to say, sure, that's fine. So always try to claim the leads when you see that text. So just to kind of sum up, you can see again the concierge calls. If we're able to create a consultation, you'll see it over on the left. That's going to be a text opportunity to claim the lead. If we either can't reach them or they're not quite ready to commit to an appointment, you're going to get an email with that lead's name and address and their intent, right? Now, we do have that optional program. You actually get additional contact info through the optional program, which I'll talk about. But either way, you want to reach out as soon as possible. So how do I factor into this, Brett? You said the number one ranked agent. So when you all sign up, and just so you know, you should all already have in your email that went out right before this webinar an invitation that'll say it's from sold.com and your brokerage, inviting you to create a profile. that is the link you want to use to create your profile so that you get all the benefits of the brokerage partnership. If you don't see a link, check your spam. And if you still don't see the link, I'll share a link in the chat that you can use to sign up as well to make sure you're affiliated with that Realty One Terminus brokerage partnership. So when you click on that link and go to set up your profile, we're going to ask you questions. So we're going to ask you, number one, what zip codes do you service? You should put in, I think it says you have to have at least 5 that you put in. You can put in up to 30 or 35. I've actually put in 35 before. So depending on what zip codes you service, remember, more zip codes, bigger net, more leads. And then you're going to give us information about yourself that we're going to use to determine your ranking. And that's going to be a few things. Number one, your experience. How long have you been licensed? Number two, you're going to put in your MLS info, and we go back about 18 months to take a look at your sales volume and transactions. And you can put in up to 2 different MLSs. So if you do have, your primary MLS, but maybe there's a secondary MLS where you have activity that doesn't show up in your primary MLS, go ahead and put that in there as well so you get that full credit. You are going to enter in your last 12 months of transactions and how many of those were buyers and how many of those were sellers. And that way, if you had new construction or off market listings or anything that doesn't show up in the MLS, you're still going to get credit for that. And then last but not least, as you go forward on the program, we're going to reward you for, number one, logging into your agent portal and updating the leads. So that way we know you're actually working the leads. And then obviously as you have conversions and transactions that occur. So when you put in this information, you're going to get your organic rank in every zip code that you service. So you can see this agent here for 72205, they're ranked 50th. For 72207, Little Rock, they're ranked 44th. Why would that be different? Well, because we have a different amount of agents in each zip code. If it's a busy zip code, you might be ranked a little higher than maybe a zip code that's out, in the suburbs that maybe not as many agents service. So that rank is going to dictate your opportunity on the program. In terms of appointment leads, it's going to be what order you're in to receive that text. So for 72205 Little Rock, he's 50th. So he's probably not going to receive that many appointment opportunities. But our algorithm works differently than that. And so he's still going to be presented as an option for consumers in terms of those referred customer, those email leads, right? And for most companies, if we take a look where you have your top producers and then kind of that middle swath of agents that you're good producers, you've been in the business for a while, and then you might have that kind of group of newer agents. Usually about 70 to 80% of agents receive leads on the program. So you're just going to have to kind of sign up and see where you're at. If you're brand new, obviously your rank's going to be pretty high. But as you have experience and sell more homes, your rank's going to climb. And you're not going to be new forever. But again, we also do have an optional program that's called Guaranteed Display, where you can actually boost your ranking in zip codes that you service. Then I'll talk about that here in a minute. So we give you this, once you've set up your profile, you'll see that you have this portal or dashboard where you can kind of take a look and see what's happened. So this is a real agent. They have up to 51 zip codes. Well, why is that, Brett? Well, when you put in your MLS info, you've entered in maybe 30 or 35 zip codes. Our system will actually check the MLS for other zip codes where you've transacted, and it will add that to your profile automatically. You can always take them back off, but that way, if you've worked a ton of different zip codes, you can get that full net to kind of catch those leads. This agent here, since they joined our network, we generated 1,900 leads in the zip codes that they service, out of which this agent got 92% of those because they sponsor zip codes. And one of the benefits of sponsoring a zip code is that if it's a lead for, you actually get every single lead for a zip code that you sponsor. So if you sponsor 1, 2, 3, 4, and we got 60 leads in the last 12 months, you would have received all 60 of those leads. So the difference between our appointment leads and our referred customer leads is an appointment lead will only be claimed by one agent successfully. And that's whoever claims it first, with that text message. A referred customer lead, if we do have an agent, and we typically have 2 spots per zip code available, so it's pretty darn limited and they do sell out pretty quick. We have 2 spots. If they are sponsoring the zip code, they receive every single referred customer lead But then the consumer has an option where they're going to be presented with, I believe it's 6 additional agents to start, and then they can always add more to select other agents they want to hear from. So that's where it's important to have your profile full, because we might have somebody who is going to automatically get a lead, but then your profile shows you've been in the business for 20 years and your average days on market is super low and all that sort of thing. And that's where the consumers will pick you to want to hear from. So I see we've got a couple questions. Um, let's see here. Will there be a distinct way to identify your text leads? They will always say that they're from sold.com. Click here to lead, to claim the lead. Unfortunately, we use lots of different phone numbers for those text messages. I wish I could just give you a number to save in your phone. That's not how our system works. So just keep an eye out for sold.com to click here to claim that lead. That's going to be the best way to do that. In terms of, I didn't get the email to set up my sold.com profile, I'm going to go ahead and put that link in the chat right now. So if you check on the chat, you'll see it. It's agents.sold.com/promo/broker partnership, Realty One Group, Terminus. That would be the link that you use to create your account so that you're tied to your brokerage account and you receive the benefits of our brokerage partnership. So back to this portal, you can see again, this agent here, we're going to tell you how many leads you got. Now, active referrals, that's how many of those folks that we show at a minimum haven't actually sold their property yet. So that's just that reminder that, hey, these are seller leads, so it's an active lead until they sell, right? You can keep marketing to them. Lost referrals of 106. That is out of those 1,700 leads we sent this person, 106 of those folks went on to sell before ever agreeing to meet with that agent. So that tells me, maybe I need to tweak what my reach outs are to my leads so that I can make sure that I have an at bat when they get close enough to want to talk about listing. Now, this agent's done a great job on scheduled appointments. I can't tell you how many times I pull up an agent account or a brokerage account and I'll see something like they were offered 40 appointments and they claimed 10 of them. And we're going to tell you what the good happened, which is above the green line. So out of those 32 appointments that this agent claimed, he's still working 14 of those leads. 9 of those folks have gone on to list. But unfortunately for this agent, 3 listed with him, 6 listed elsewhere. So that again tells him, hey, I need to work on my pitch. I need to work on my follow-up so that when I meet with them, I can increase my percentage of listings, the people that end up listing with me. And then unclaimed appointments, that'll show you, hey, if this person had claimed 20 appointments, what happened to the 12 that he missed out on? Did any of those people list? So you want to take a look at you're to see your dashboard every time you log in. But as the program moves on, obviously there's not going to be any data in there to start. Make it a point to revisit that dashboard just to make sure, am I doing everything I can to follow up? Am I making sure I'm claiming every lead? Am I following up with these folks? Am I logging into my agent portal to tell sold.com that? Now, we're not like other companies, and I'll call out my former employer. Zillow, if you're on Flex, they require that you log in X amount of times. You have to use this, you have to use that. We don't do that. We just say, we suggest, we don't demand it. We suggest you log into your agent portal at least once a week to go in and update your leads. Just so instead of it saying new, you can update it to say following up. And then you can just throw a quick little note, added to my monthly newsletter, whatever it may be. Or if I accepted an appointment and you actually had the appointment, change it from a scheduled appointment to completed appointment. By doing those things, you're going to tell us that you're working the leads and we're going to boost your score, right? So, and that's the name of the game. The higher the score, the more lead opportunities you're going to get. So really important that you're going in there at least once a week. Now, we do have an integration with a CRM. Currently, the only CRM that we integrate with is Follow-Up. So if you're a Follow-Up Boss user, we have a full API integration. The profile section will walk you through how to set that up. But we are talking to most of the other major CRMs out there, and we expect to launch more integrations later this fall. So how can I increase my lead volume? As I mentioned, coming into your profile and updating leads and updating the statuses and all that sort of thing is going to tell us you're working those leads. But we do have that optional program called Guaranteed Display that not only boosts your ranking, but it gives you a bunch of other benefits. So let me show you what that is all about. If you are in the Guaranteed Display program, as I mentioned, you can sponsor zip codes. and we have 2 spots per zip code. In some of our busier zip codes, there's 3 spots. If you are sponsoring the zip code, you boost yourself to the top. So if there's already somebody sponsoring, you're not going to be stuck at number 2. We basically treat you both as equals. So for those appointment opportunities, obviously, if you're top ranked, you're going to get the text message first to claim those appointments. And again, those are our best leads that we have on the platform. The way it works is, let's say that Adrian and I were both sponsoring a zip code. Lead number 1 comes in, Adrian gets it first. Lead number 2 comes in, I get it first. And it just round robins between the 2 of us as far as who gets the text message first. But you're going to get a first opportunity to claim those appointments. The second benefit is for those referral fees, we're going to drop it from 35% to 30% on an appointment lead. So those are the benefits for the appointments, which again, that's about 10% of your leads. Well, what about the non-appointment leads, those referred customer leads? This, I think, is the best benefit of all. If you're sponsoring that zip code, all of the referred customer leads you receive for that zip code, we waive the referral fee. So instead of paying 35%, you're paying nothing. Whatever you paid to sponsor that zip code is all you're going to pay for the year, unless you have an appointment lead that converts, and then that's a 30% fee versus 35 on our free program. You're also going to get the full contact details for these referred customer leads. If you're on our basic program, you receive the name, the address, and the lead intent and their time frame. So you can send, most agents do is they send them a letter out saying, hey, I understand you're looking for this type of information. Here's some of that information. Here's what I do to help my clients, etc. And you send them like a nice little marketing package. Or some people door knock, it depends on your neighborhood and where you're farming, right? But if you're sponsoring the zip code, you get the phone number and the email address. So it makes reaching out a lot easier. Another benefit, which is actually not on the screen, is you receive the leads immediately in a sponsored zip code. So as I said, our process typically is it passes the verification process, and then we reach out for 24 hours first, and then we send the lead out. If you're sponsoring that zip code, you get the lead as soon as it's verified. So you don't have to wait 24 hours to reach out. So why is that good? Because basically, if you're quick and can reach out to these folks and get a hold of them before we get a hold of them at sold.com, then chances are they're not going to create an appointment. They're just going to work with you, right? Which means, hey, no appointment, no referral fee, right? So I always coach agents that when you get a hold of these people and you talk to them and hopefully set up a time to have a longer discussion, say, oh yeah, by the way, you might hear from sold.com. They just want to verify that somebody reached out to them, because you know how agents are. They're not always good about replying to things. So if you hear from sold.com, just say, hey, I already talked to Adrian. I'm all good, right? And that way you're pretty much conditioning that person to not accept an appointment, right? Because you want to work that lead and you don't want to have to pay a referral on it. So how much are the zip codes to sponsor? Our regular price on our zip codes range in price from $75 to $180 a month. So very, very affordable compared to Zillow and some of the other companies that are out there. Because you have a brokerage partnership with us for the first 48 hours that you're on the program. So basically through the end of the day, and I'll go ahead and extend it through Monday. So through the end of the day on Monday, you can actually, and here real quick before I do that, the difference I kind of went over, but some people are very visual. So again, on our free network, 35% success fee paid at closing. Your rank will 100% dictate your opportunity. I will tell you about 90% of the agents on our platform are on that free network. So you don't have to sponsor to be successful with our program. But agents who do sponsor, number one, they typically continue to sponsor. So our average agent has been sponsoring for 2.5 years, and we've only offered it for 3 years. Over a third of the zip codes that are sponsored every week are being sponsored by agents who are already sponsoring other zip codes that are adding more, right? So it's a pretty great program. So again, if you sponsor, 0% referral fee on those emailed leads. You're going to receive all leads in your sponsored zip codes, priority for the appointment leads, and then that reduced referral fee on appointment leads for the sponsored zip codes. You don't have to sponsor every zip code that you work, by the way. You can put in 30, 35 zip codes you work. We have a 3 zip code minimum for sponsorship. So you can pick the couple that you really want to go into, you really want to build your listing inventory in, and that's typically where agents choose to put their sponsorships. So as I mentioned, because you're in a brokerage partnership, now through the end of the day on Monday, you can actually take advantage of our intro offer where you can sponsor any zip codes for a maximum price of $60 per month. So that is literally a third of the price on some of the zip codes. Now, I know that today only sounds hokey, but due to the timing of your webinar, we actually have a promotion that we've been running this week that basically through the end of the month, which would be the end of today, if you sponsor 3 zip codes, we give you one for free. So your timing, unfortunately, I don't think I can extend that offer. I've already got an email in to see if I can extend that through Monday, but through the very least, I know today only you can sponsor 3 zip codes, you get one free. So if you want information on that, instead of us bombarding all of you, you can scan that QR code, or I'm going to put a different link in the chat. Now, this is really important. To receive the information, you have to either use that QR code or click the link in the chat. It's going to take you to a form where you're going to put your name, your email address, your phone number, and then you can list the zip codes that you're interested in. Those all go to our team. They're going to pull a report for you that's going to show the zip code, the name of the city, how many leads we've generated in that zip code in the last 12 months, so you can have an idea about lead volume. It's going to have the median home price. So when we get a lead from that zip code, what on average is the value of the homes that we're receiving leads on? It's going to show the regular pricing and then your discounted pricing of $60 per month. So again, if you want information, scan that QR code or use the link in the chat. If you're all curious, I highly recommend that you at least get the information, because I can't tell you, I do probably 3 or 4 of these a week, and without fail, I'll hear from somebody 2, 3 weeks later going, "Hey, I'm not really super happy with my rankings. Can I still get that $60 deal?" No, you can't. Unfortunately, it's a limited thing, but I can offer it to you through Monday. The $60 rate. However, the buy 3 get 1 is good only for today. So again, fill out that form. We'll send you the information, and then you can decide for yourself. So beyond that, what else are we doing to support you? We want to make sure that you have success with this program. So we have a marketplace full of partners, which obviously Realty One has all sorts of companies they work with, but we have companies like Top Producer, Close, Utility Connect, House Amp, OfferPad, where you can get free trials or discounts, etc. Utility Connect's a really cool one. Utility Connect is if you have somebody who's moving to somewhere that they're really not familiar with, it can help them to set up all of their utilities, and they get a discount, and then you actually get a fee for help for those referrals, right? So really cool program, but you're also providing great support. I can tell you, my mother is 80 years old and a widow. She just moved from Florida to Kansas City. After 30 years, she had just had enough of the hurricanes. She couldn't deal with it anymore. If she didn't have family, 100%, I would have told her, yeah, look into Utility Connect, because that really can help people. You'll also see in your agent portal and events tab, this is where we put all of our webinars. So we have a relationship with Tom Ferry Coaching. So we have not only webinars from our team, but we have webinars from Tom Ferry's top coaches. So, the people you see at Inman, Jason Pantana, Jeff Mays, Tom Ferry himself does, Jared Davis. We have great coaches. And what's cool about these webinars is they're not just about sold.com, right? They are, I think Jason's last one was how to use AI in your business more effectively. We had a gentleman on, I think, next week who's talking about how to turn real estate conversations into listing opportunities, right? So, number one, they're great info. Number two, if you watch the webinars, we actually give you a slight boost to your ranking in our algorithm. So, again, we want to reward you for doing the things that are going to help you to be more successful. So when you click on that, not only we see upcoming events, you can click on past events, and there's a whole library of content there so that you can watch, and make sure that you know the best way to reach out to these folks. We also have the support website, support.sold.com. Happy to tell you we don't typically have any kind of downtime or any tech issues, but if you do have an issue, you can click on the chat bot. You can look up best practices and FAQs, and you'll get information in terms of scripting and things of that nature. There's even a phone number down at the bottom. So if you have something really urgent happening with your account, we'll respond promptly. Now, one thing I didn't call out, but I want to, is one of the questions I get is, hey, if you send me a lead and I take a look at my CRM and I've already been reaching out to them for 3 months, what do I do? Well, you just go into your agent portal and you mark that lead as dead and just put a little note that said, has been in my CRM since, 10 of 2024. Just a little note. And that tells us that, hey, this person already knew that consumer, so there's no referral due. If for whatever reason you ever drop the ball and you forgot to do that, and you get a listing with one of our leads, but you're going, oh no, I already knew that person, I forgot to tell sold.com. All we're going to do is literally ask you for like a screenshot from your CRM showing that you've been marketing to them prior to us introducing you to that person by sending you the lead, and then we'll waive the referral requirement. So we try to be super friendly about that sort of stuff. But your best practice is when you receive a lead, just give it a quick check to make sure it's not somebody that's already in your database. Last but not least, you may well get some objections just like any program. So, hey, I didn't click on anything. Spoiler alert, they did. We don't buy leads. They clicked on something. So, that one's an easy one. Well, that's weird. I'll have to follow up with them and see, what happened there. But by the way, while I have you on the phone, did you know that your home value has gone up 200,000? And Adrian's laughing because it's like, you just keep going, right? Because people are naturally, they object. I'm going to the dentist later today, and some people are more afraid of going to a realtor, I think, than a dentist. Or think about, like, remember Best Buys? If you walked into Best Buy, you might know I need these 3 Blu-rays and I want to look at toasters. But if that person in that blue polo asks you, hey, do you need anything? No, 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 I'm good. Please don't talk to me. Just that's human nature, right? So roll through it. I'm not selling my house. Well, I know you're not selling your house, or you would have called me. I just understand you're looking for, that's why you don't say, I understand you want to sell your house. Like, hey, I'm looking for curious for my home value. Great. Happy to answer that. And then cash offer, I talked about that. So again, we have on our support website different PDF guides that have all sorts of scripting, and I'll share those with you, Adrian, so you can share them with your folks. We developed them in conjunction with Tom Ferry and his coaches. So there's some good stuff in there. Some of it, hey, full disclosure, some of it's a little cheesy in there. You're going to want to tailor it to your own approach, just like anything like that. But we know this stuff works because we actually interview the agents having the most success on our platform. I'm actually recording a webinar next week with one who's had a ton of closings, and then that's going to be an upcoming webinar. So we actually ask the people having success, what are you doing? And remember, that's one of the best things about real estate, right? Is that sharing culture. If I'm an agent in Dallas, Texas, I'll show you my whole listing presentation. I don't care because you're in Atlanta and we're not competing, right? So we're going to give you all the tools we can to make sure you're successful. So just to kind of recap what we talked about, expectations and conversion times. Again, these are top of funnel seller leads. 22% of the appointment leads typically list within 12 months. Our overall conversions about 17%. Maintain that follow-up. That's the fortune is in the follow-up. We all have digital ADD, right? Every day we're getting tons of emails and this and that. I mean, I bought my mom flowers from 1-800-Flowers like 10 years ago, and I still get 3 emails a day from them, right? So, I mean, it's easy to get distracted. So we don't want you to be distracted, but also don't get distracted if you do get some defensiveness occasionally. And just be really soft. Hey, I'm here to help you out. I'm here to help you know about the real estate market, etc. And then ask for yourself, should I sponsor zip codes or do I just want to be on the free program? Hey, if you're already ranked in the top 5, 10, maybe you don't want to sponsor because you're still going to get a decent amount of leads. But if you look and you're number 108, you're probably going to want to sponsor, or you're just not going to get that many leads until your sales volume picks up overall in your business, and then your ranking will go up accordingly. So last but not least, next steps. So as I said, look out for an email. You should all have an email. Adrian sent me a roster, and so everybody was invited. Check your spam, but if you did not or cannot find that email, I'm going to put those 2 links in the chat again. The top link is the one that you would use to create your account. Now, if you go in to create an account and it says, hey, you already have an account, shoot me an email. I put my email address in there, bcalltharp@sold.com. All that means is I just need to go in on the back end to sync your account to the brokerage partnership, so that way you get all the benefits from it. So keep it, create your profile, and then the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you fully complete it. So add that MLS information. Make sure you add your service zip codes, minimum of 5, maximum of, I think, around 35. Make sure one thing the agents always miss on the profile, you'll see you put your photo, your phone number, your email, your license number, but for some reason, agents skip over years of experience. That's part of your ranking, so make sure you put that in there. at the bottom of the zip code list, that's where you self-report your transactions. There's 3 boxes total, buyers, sellers. Make sure you fill out something in all 3 of those. I see agents still put in 30, 0, 0. Should be 30 total transactions, 20 listings, 10 buyers, right? Fully fill it out. The other thing is make sure under preferences that when it says lead types you're receiving, that says buyers and sellers, make sure it's green, not red. Because I think when you first create an account, the default is it's turned off. And that way it gives you time to get your profile up to speed before you turn it on. So make sure to go under preferences and click on the switches so you have the green light next to both of those lead sources. And then last but not least, on that preferences tab, if you work with another person or maybe you have an assistant, you can add in additional emails to receive notifications when you receive a lead. So if you have an assistant, a lead comes in, you'll get the email and your assistant will get it as well. Some general things, again, check that marketplace. You may very well find companies you're already working with where you can get discounts. The events tab has the webinars, bookmark soulport.soul.com, and then ask yourself about sponsoring zip codes. And if you are interested, highly suggest you take advantage of that intro offer, which again, today only, you can sponsor 3 zip codes and get 1 free. Last thing I'm going to say about sponsorship is this. Any of you eagle-eyed folks, when I showed this slide, you might have seen this guaranteed display boost. There's 2 options when you have your list of zip codes. It'll say add to wait list. That means that it's currently sold out. You can't sponsor it, but you can add yourself to the wait list. And that way, if it becomes available, we'll reach out to you and say, hey, 72205 is available to sponsor if you're looking to sponsor. Do not use the boost available button. Do not use it, or do not just go to sold.com and try to sponsor zips, because if you do that, they're going to charge you the retail price. You are in our brokerage partnership program. That's why you have to fill out the special form to get the $60 pricing. So I don't want anybody here to pay too much. So at least through the end of next week, if you decide, yeah, I want to talk about sponsoring zip codes, click the link in the chat to make an inquiry or just shoot me an email, because I want to make sure you get the right pricing, because I've had agents do that and they get signed up and they're going, well, hey, I thought you said it was $60 on the webinar. Why did I get charged $100? Well, because you didn't click the right thing, right? So make sure, don't use boost available, but you can add in, add to wait list. You can do that right off the bat. But boost available, don't use at least until the end of next week. You're going to use that link I put in the chat, or just shoot me an email to help you out. So with that, I'm just going to leave this up here. So if you need the QR code, you have it. Any other questions? That's pretty much all I have for you. I tried to get through it quickly, but without, being like the guy in the commercials that used to talk like 1,000 miles an hour. But there's a lot of information. I understand it, but I think we try to make this pretty streamlined, pretty smooth as possible. But if you do have questions, bcalltharpsold.com, you can shoot me an email. But yeah, any other questions y'all might have? Don't be
Any
shy.
other questions? This is for residential, Pam.
Correct. Yeah. So we don't have rental leads or commercial leads. These are all residential. That being said, if you get a lead from somebody and they decide, well, it's not right, it's not the right time for me to sell, but I'm gonna go ahead and have you rent it out for me, we don't look for any kind of referral fee on that. So whatever property management fee you might charge that person, we only get paid if the transaction occurs. And it's an 18-month coverage period on that.
Great
Anything
question.
else?
Anyone else? Any of the attendees? Any questions? The Q&A and chat is wide open for you while we still have Brett. I appreciate your time too, Brett. That was very thorough. I think that you did a great job of
Thank you.
really introducing everybody to the system and the program. So yeah, it
I
doesn't
don't
look
want
like we
you
have
going
any.
back to Vinny or Kathy or Corey Joe and ratting me out or Gooba. So I want you guys to be happy. And I mean, like I said, I do these all the time, and I always say, if you have questions, email me. I mean it. Like, go ahead and email me. I'm not gonna bite. I'm always happy to help out agents, especially Adrian's cool as heck. I've really enjoyed talking to him. Y'all have a great brokerage. I mean, right down from branding to just the way that you guys structure your training. I know that y'all are going to be super successful with this, because success starts at the top, and you got a great leader to help you through that. So I'm looking forward to seeing y'all crush it, 100%. So. Well, cool, Adrian. Well, I appreciate your time. I'm going to turn everything back over to you. Again, those links, I'm going to put them one more time in the chat so that you have them. And then, Adrian, I think you're going to send me a if you can send me who came to the session today live, I can mark that way. When you sign up, usually you have to watch a webinar to become live. Well, y'all just did that. So I'm gonna get a list from Adrian. So when you create your account, you might receive an email that says, "Oh, now click here to schedule your webinar." Y'all don't have to do that. You just saw that. So I'm gonna get a list from Adrian of who all came today, and then I will make sure that once you guys create your accounts, you're all marked live in the system. If you do get one of those emails, just shoot me an email, and that way I can make sure that you're marked active and live, so you don't have to watch this all over again.
Perfect. Good
Perfect.
stuff. Well, thanks again. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, sir. Thanks you. Thank you all. I look forward to working with you. Thanks so much.
Take care. See ya.
Bye bye.